all of us at KidZone would like to thank the community of TFN for supporting the publication of A Year of Sundays by Asylum Seeker Children at the ASRC and All the Way Home, the third in our series from the South Sudanese community in Gippsland. This project was featured by the ABC on national television, and we hope you'll take the time to watch the clip because that will tell you the real value of this wonderful project. Thank you.
Once upon a time, in a land very far away from here.
When I was a small boy, I lived in a village with my family. Like other boys in the village, it was my job to tend the cattle.
The boy's name was Abraham. The land was southern Sudan.
I was one of the lost boys of Sudan. When I left home, I was 12 years old, and we were told to leave home because of the war. And the policy of the government in Sudan was to kill the young boy from South Sudan. And we had to run away, leave behind the parents.
The Lost Boys were part of the wider tragedy of the Second Sudanese Civil War. In 1987, 20,000 of them were driven from their villages and their families. Some were conscripted by rebel forces. Others wandered for many weeks in search of safe haven.
I've been in the refugee camp for 16 years in Kenya. And when Australia opened the door for refugees to come to Australia, I was applied. I first came to Melbourne in 2006, and I've been in Melbourne for 2 years. And then after 2 years, I moved to Tragan.
160 kilometres east of Melbourne, 12,000 kilometres southeast of southern Sudan.
Does Traralgon feel like home?
Absolutely. And that's why I always say I feel like coming home. Because when I was in Melbourne, it was overwhelming life. But when I first settled in Traralgon, it was hard for the first 2 years. After that, I feel like a home. I feel like coming home.
Home it certainly is. But homeland can never be forgotten.
There was giraffes in our village too. Giraffes are not friendly. They like to push people over. Once when I got pushed over by a giraffe, I hurt my head and I had to go to hospital.
Adia Malouk's story of African life was published in the strikingly titled Donkeys Can't Fly on Planes.
KidZone Publishing is a partnership organisation. We always work in partnership. And so the strength of a project depends on the strength of those partnerships. And in this case, we struck gold because the community down here in Traralgon have just been fantastic.
Working with a local school and English language centre, KidZone helped the children tell their tales and get them published. What came next surprised all and sundry.
The parents said, well, we've got stories to tell as well.
And we realised... smoked out essentially by the children's stories, were they?
I think they saw what effect it had on the children. They saw how their children grew through the process, their sense of pride, just the confidence.
And so with the adults. Inspired by their children, they went through the same process to tell their stories in not one, but 2 books.
At the first time it was overwhelming, but now it seemed like somebody sharing food with other people. So I share my history with people, like I share the food with the family members, and I feel empowered when I share my history with people.
Does it help you deal with what happened to you and your family?
Absolutely. It gives me a relief. It is a kind of relief when I share my history with outside world.
Time for tucker. Oh, you're getting spoiled, aren't you, family?
Just as Abraham did in southern Sudan, Peter Snape keeps an eye on cattle. He, along with his wife Helen, live about 40 minutes out of Traralgon, and they've been beguiled by the stories of Gippsland's new residents.
What really hit me is donkeys can't fly on planes. It just blew me away. Within 2 days I'd read the 25 stories, and they're all beautiful, wonderful stories, and I could comprehend exactly what they were talking about.
It's up here in the head, you know, you get told these things, but you don't actually necessarily get to experience it.
The stories of the South Sudanese are getting noticed way beyond Gippsland. Award-winning author and educator Arnold Zabel has been one of those watching with interest and delight.
This is an extraordinary project, and I think it's a model for many other communities where you have newcomers coming in and trying to adjust. It's enabled them to come to understand and process their own journey, their own harrowing journeys that have taken them from refugee camps, from wars zones, they've got epic tales to tell.
The age-old craft of storytelling has survived the often perilous journey from war-torn Africa and is a cause for celebration. The tales of young and older are now firmly in print.
We have to share our histories so that the children in the school will understand where we came from, and the people around the neighbors will understand our struggle and our issues that are going on.
And those stories, you've got plenty more stories to tell?
We have a lot to tell.
Jangan